Welcome to the DeFi Standard, and this is Mickey B. Fresh and
Patty XRP.
And today we got a great show in store for everyone. We're going to go over yesterday's video that I did on the future of the XRP ledger. We're going to hear some of Patty's opinions on that, and we're going to take some questions from the audience regarding anything regarding yesterday's video about the new federated sidechains and the new automated market maker that's coming to the XRP ledger that's going to allow you to stake your XRP and be able to earn fees, yield, and potentially other rewards. And David Schwartz describes this mechanism design. So we're going to go over that a little bit. We're going to talk through NFTs on the XRP ledger and what that means, and hooks. And also we're going to go through Bifrost Wallet's new update to delegating your Songbird to the FTSOs and how you could see the rewards accruing in real time. And we're going to talk about, just to touch on the SEC case and what's this mean if they extend out the discovery to possibly January, which I don't think is going to happen, but we'll discuss that. But first, Patty, let's start off with yesterday's video. And if you haven't seen yesterday's video, definitely check it out. We go into some clips with David Schwartz at the Apex Summit, which was Ripple's developer conference, which is super important. Probably one of the most important things that's not getting the focus of the community, because it shows the vision of where the XRP ledger is going. And it proves the point, which I've been hammering away for the last year, saying XRP ledger is for retailers just as much as it's for institutional. And that involves you and how you could earn more money and how you could find more investable opportunities. And Patty, so what do you think about these federated sidechains and automated market makers that David Schwartz has proposed?
Yeah, I mean, I think it, just to kind of shill for you here for a second, I've been kind of in the space for a while now, got in around the same time as Mickey, and I had been in basically Telegram groups with Mickey for a long time. And, at first I didn't really know nearly as much as he did and what he kind of understood about what was coming. But I mean, back in 2019, Mickey was going on and on about, collateralized debt positions with XRP and minting stable coins and all that stuff, which, has taken a while to come about. But like, it's finally here. And for me, what this kind of signals with Ripple is that cross-border payments is not the only way to go. There's much more that's needed to provide the necessary liquidity to facilitate the kind of transactions they want to on a daily basis globally. So I think this is going to be a huge part of it. And also, whatever, for better or worse, the XRP community is very, hold your assets on a ledger, don't do anything with them. I think the people that come to this channel, want a different path as far as, utilizing it in DeFi or maybe just minting an F asset. Like, you don't have to go too far into it. And I think the fact that we're going to have it with Flare and the XRP ledger now is going to be great. We may see composable projects be built between the two. Who knows what's possible in the future? Some of them may be competing, which is totally fine. I'm all for competition. It makes the whole market stronger. And I think it also goes to show that not everything is going to run on the ledger. Like, Ethereum's been way ahead of the 8 ball with this whole DeFi and smart contract phenomenon. And we're just now getting to it on the XRP ledger. So I also think it shows that not everybody is infallible out there at Ripple. And maybe some of the paths that they decided to take in the past weren't the most expedient to increasing the value on the ledger. I think the cross-border payment stuff will be great in the future. I just think that's taking way longer to roll out than what the Ripple team probably anticipated at the beginning, as well as the others that are building, developing projects around cross-border payments and different kind of payments mechanisms. We know the XRP ledger is great for that. They're going to keep it lean. And that's what these side chains are meant to do, is add additional utility, liquidity into the network and value onto it. I mean, right now, if you look at how kind of like separated all the liquidity is across the globe and siloed exchanges or liquidity pools, it's just none of those are sufficient to handle the type of transactions that really big institutions, banks, central banks, governments need to put through on a daily basis. So it's about growing that pie to where it can handle that kind of liquidity going through. And, David Schwartz in that video you played yesterday, and this is probably like my favorite tweet I've ever seen, like you call out and has been out for a while, is the one where he talks about competitive global pools of liquidity. We need these massive pools that everybody can, provide liquidity to or draw off of if they're trying to swap between assets. And that takes a lot of value. And I think that value needs to be there before, entities are willing to transact that kind of level of value, I guess, in their transactions going through. So I think all this is going to bring more interest to the XRP ledger in ways to earn yield and different things, as well as just improving the liquidity flow. And the other thing I found really interesting, Mickey, was he was talking about how well suited the XRP ledger is for automated market makers. One of the issues on Ethereum and why there is such huge impermanent loss there is because the block times are rather slow. And with that, they also have miners that can decide what order they want to place the transactions in prior to them going through, which allows front running and something they call miner extractable value. And Federated Byzantine Agreement, nobody ever has that much control over the ordering of transactions. Everybody just kind of does it on their own. And then as like all the weaving of the quorums and overlapping trust partners and stuff takes hold, that's how they decide on it and validate it into the future. So there's not as much like onus put on a single miner or a node on the XRP ledger to do so. But also that applies to Flare Network as well, where they use the same type of consensus algorithm. It's not exactly the same, but kind of the base design of it, Federated Byzantine Agreement, is very similar. We know the block times are very fast. The nodes are going to be ordering the transactions in a similar way and all that. So I think we could see this kind of stuff put on both, Flare, XRPL, as far as improving the automated market maker design. And then additionally, when he brings up, and we'll see when Matt Hamilton, we have some videos to show, talks about staking XRP in a liquidity pool. So I was trying to think, would you just be able to individually stake XRP without providing another asset? Possibly that could be what they mean. I mean, the way they say it makes me think that. So like, how could they make that possible? Well, they have, what is it called? Like order book bridging on the XRP ledger. Mickey, correct me if I'm wrong. But that allows you to combine multiple order books together. And I'm wondering if that kind of structure can be applied to AMMs as well. So if you have a bunch of different liquidity pools that are paired against XRP, you can kind of bridge those two together to swap from one asset to another, even if they're not in the same liquidity pool. So I'm curious if that could be applied on that level. Do you have any thoughts there, Mickey, with that?
Yeah, David Schwartz talks about this mechanism that they designed in. He doesn't go into too many details about it, but it's something I feel like we're going to hear about more in the future. So he talks about this mechanism that they designed where people are going to be able to stake their XRP and provide that liquidity for the whole order book. And I think auto bridging would be one way to do that, but I don't want to speculate too far on exactly how it's going to work. We need more information there. But regarding federated sidechains, this is how everything can't run on the XRP ledger itself, because the XRP ledger is not built to run everything, and it's not built to run every use case. It was specifically designed to be lean and run payments. But these side chains, you could actually run every potential use case that you want on Ethereum, on any other network, private networks like Corda, like Hyperledger. You could run every single use case on any type of side chain. And he describes how the first side chain is going to be EVM. So it's going to have Ethereum smart contracts, and it's going to be a sidechain with its own consensus. But XRP will be able to be used on all these sidechains. So just think of all that additional utility that's going to come from XRP being used on these different sidechains. Now, they don't have to have the same consensus as the XRP ledger, but most likely many of them will. But some might be proof of stake. Some might have their own governance tokens. So there might be more investable opportunities out there for us. And this goes back to the whole thing of 99% of the tokens are not disappearing. We're only going to see a growth in the amount of tokens within each individual ecosystem. So like XRP, You could think of it as the reserve currency within all of these side chains are built. And we're not talking like 2 or 3 side chains. We could see double-digit side chains, and one day hundreds of side chains. And they're all horizontally scaled. So they could scale the XRP ledger for all types of use cases built around it. But the one thing at the center that's the most important is that XRP ledger's DEX. It has an order book built into the actual protocol where you could transfer all these assets. Now, going back to Flare, we have this Solaris bridge, which is going to allow all assets that are issued on the Flare network, say it be security tokens, say it be FLTC, say it be Spark, even in general, can all move over to the XRP ledger trustlessly. So you could move back the other way, not just XRP moving on as an F asset. And this makes really Flare network, which is not a sidechain, which is a mainnet, like a sister network to the XRP ledger. And I think over time, Ripple has created this liquidity network, and that's for ODL. It connects all the exchanges together. But really, what are the exchanges? The exchanges are just wallet providers. They have accounts on the XRP ledger, which they host wallets for many thousands of users. But ultimately, they're just a wallet provider who has an account on the ledger. So if you could tie all those together. So in the past, Ripple's had, or not Ripple, the XRP ledger used to have this thing called gateways. And it was just a single entity who allowed on-ramp and off-ramp to the XRP ledger to issue assets. What they've done, where Stellar has kept that and used the anchors, XRP ledger is now expanding outward. So these federated side chains are going to replace the gateway model. And they're going to be their own individual blockchains built for specific use cases. So some might be for just NFTs. Some will be just for DeFi. And he keeps talking about DeFi and tokenization. So this is something in the future. So we need these pools of liquidity that people could draw off and contribute to for retail, institutional, enterprise. It has to involve as many different diverse entities as possible. It can't just be for just institutional, because you know what? This is a decentralized open source blockchain for anyone in the world to use, and it was designed for that purposely. And I think now we'll start to see the real vision of what they're creating here with the XRP ledger come to fruition in 2022. We also have the Hooks Amendment, and we also have the NFT Amendment, which are going to be massive to add to this whole mix. And we're seeing a lot of these airdrops take place. There are going to be other projects built on the ledger, and we've not yet seen that. And this is going to be that wave of utility and wave of adoption that we're looking for. Yes, maybe one day XRP could bridge CBDCs, but both things are far away. One, we don't have near the liquidity to do that. And two, the CBDCs themselves are years away. So I think the focus should be what affects us as XRP holders the most in the short term that we could actually use to earn more profits and brings more value to XRP. And they're telling us right here at the Apex Summit.
Absolutely, Mickey. And with that, I'm going to pull up our first video from Matt Hamilton, who I believe was on the chain, right, for this one?
Yeah, this was he was on the chain with Chip and Jeff about a week or two ago.
Awesome. All right, well, I'll pull that up.
And you basically just say, here's my funds, you deal with it, right? So as a result, things like Uniswap have become very popular. Now, what was interesting at Apex was then David Schwartz announces that we're going to create a AMM on the XRP ledger, which will hopefully allow people to be able to stake funds and hopefully make, make some profit from their XRP by staking it on the AMM, right?
Right. Yeah.
So that's a stake funds and hopefully make, make some profit from their XRP by staking it on the AMM, right?
Right. Yeah.
So
that's a great idea.
Yeah, so Mickey, right there, that's Matt Hamilton talking about staking XRP, which to me sounds like just XRP. We haven't heard the caveat thrown in, you need 50-50 of XRP and some other asset. So I guess that's like the biggest question, because I think if people can just directly stake their XRP in some way, that may, be extremely interesting to a lot of people, as opposed to maybe having to deal with sourcing some other funds to get another asset.
Yeah, no, this is definitely very interesting. And it's something, everyone who's holding XRP on a nano ledger in cold storage and not doing anything with it is not helping the ecosystem. They're not helping drive liquidity. So we have these two siloed things going on. We have RippleNet, they're trying to provide as much liquidity to ODL as possible. And then we have retail really doing nothing to help that situation. So by allowing people to stake their XRP on the ledger to provide liquidity, it's contributing liquidity to the ecosystem that's trying to be built. What is XRP's main use case? Is as global liquidity solution. So you need as many diverse entities as possible to have the ability to contribute to that. And in their job descriptions, they say how they're going to connect the RippleNet ODL to the crypto markets themselves. So retail does have a role to play. There's small fish and there's big fish. So it's something that they're not going to, there's no reason for the Fed to buy back XRP or do any of this stuff. We need all these contributors to contribute liquidity here. And that's really important going forward. I'm just really curious, Patty, about what this mechanism design he talks about. And we know Ripple holds a lot of XRP. So you have any thoughts on that?
Like do you mean as far as how they're going to incentivize all this?
Yeah, how would they incentivize people to take their XRP out of cold storage to then participate to be able to earn? Because we know all these DeFi providers right now are getting slammed down on the lending products and all the interest. Now in New York, you can't even lend your XRP to earn any value. But the one thing they can't stop is DeFi.
No, absolutely. So, I mean, an obvious thing to me and you, obviously, is to utilize some of that escrow. They've significantly reduced the amount of the escrow that they actually sell over the past couple of years. And additionally, a lot of what they're using is to incentivize ODL through RippleNet. So I would imagine if they want this thing to grow and grow quickly, as far as using an AMM module and improving the DEX's liquidity on the XRPL, would be to give additional rewards in XRP coming out of the escrow. How they would do that, I don't know for sure. You know, how much they would give out, how much would be needed to give out. That's not something they would be much more privy to that kind of information. The other thing where, you know, depending on what this like new component to an AMM that they've created, if it decreases in permanent loss by a significant enough amount, you may not actually need to, you know, have these extra rewards coming out as far as incentives if the AMM and providing liquidity to that and earning fees is plenty. So that's kind of, you know, it's kind of hard to tell exactly if they'll do that. You know, it just depends, I think, on how much this addition to the AMM that cuts out impermanent losses in my eyes.
Yeah, this is why XRP never had to have a stable price to be able to facilitate ODL, because as long as you have people incentivized to provide deep liquidity, you're not going to need the price of XRP to be stable, because market takers are going to come in and swap between these assets very rapidly. And liquidity providers are going to provide liquidity regardless if XRP is $50, $52, $53. It doesn't matter. They're providing liquidity. If we can minimize the impermanent loss, like he says, you know, and provide a way to earn fees, because on Uniswap, the majority of revenue made is from arbitrage because the miners are extracting this value. So I really find it ironic how people say, oh, Ethereum is more decentralized than the XRP ledger. That's actually bullcrap, because if miners are able to actually front run and decide which block they want to put in front of the other, that's the exact opposite of decentralization. That means they have control to be able to extract value from traders who are users on the network. On the XRP ledger, you cannot do that. There's not somebody operating a validator saying, oh, nope, we're gonna use this one first. It's all an autonomous algorithm that just runs. The validator can't choose which transaction to put in front of the other one to extract value out of. And this is why the XRP ledger, when it comes down to technicals, is always going to be more decentralized than any of these proof of work networks, because the miners can't extract value the way they can on proof of work networks, because there are no miners on the XRP ledger. So basically they're taking all the great components of auto bridging and instant settlement and using them for an automated market maker, which was not even something that you could have dreamt up in 2013, but it works perfectly now with that. And this is really the future. What is at the core of the XRP ledger protocol, which used to be called the Ripple protocol? So I know a lot of times XRP is referred to as Ripple. It's not because of Ripple Labs. It's because the name of the protocol is called the Ripple protocol. So that's why you see Ripple names on a lot of exchanges still. It's not because of the Ripple Labs. It's because that's the original name of the protocol. Ripple Labs just happened to take the same name, which made it more confusing. But when you see Ripple, that's the protocol name. That's the underpinning, from Ripple Pay back in 2004. And it just happened that Ripple Labs called themselves the same name, which probably I'm sure they could go back and they would change.
I think it's a sick name, so.
Yeah, I mean, just when you see that, don't think that they're always thinking of Ripple Labs. It's the protocol that's being named and then the asset. So just like you see the Stellar and then you see XLM Lumens, like that's the protocol and that's the asset. So there is some separation there from that.
Yeah, and I want to add, Mickey, this building an AMM and side chains and everything that will come with it in regards to DeFi is perfectly suited for this agent minter model on Flare Network, where basically you borrow collateral from these agents in order to be able to mint FXRP. And then the agents have the XRP that they can utilize, and that's where they make their money. So like if they can provide liquidity to a liquidity pool of some sort on the XRP ledger, that's something that can be redeemable extremely quickly. And also, I think provides that value proposition that the agents are really going to want to have to mint as many F assets as possible. And that also will lead to them, wanting to acquire more Spark in order to facilitate that. So I think that's another really interesting component that's going to come into play here as well.
No, it absolutely is. But we got some comments in yesterday's video that I just wanted to address. And there were a few. They asked, well, is it better if we mint as retail? Are we going to be more profitable if we mint F assets to earn the Spark rewards? Or is it going to be more profitable if we just stake our XRP on the XRP ledger to earn?
I mean, that stuff's not going to be around until at least the summer at the earliest that I can think of. And I imagine we'll have Flare by end of year. So, that's 6 months that you'll be sitting on your hands. Personally, I'm going to be minting FXRP. Nothing about any of this XRPL stuff that's come out is made me stop wanting to do that. Now, in the future, if I see that I can earn a lot more on the XRPL than I can earn on Flare, and I'd rather earn more XRP at that point in time, then certainly maybe I take some of my FXRP and redeem it back to XRP and utilize it on, the XRP ledger in that way. However, for me, it's like, I may eventually one day have all my assets spread out across a number of different blockchains. It really depends on, what do you like to do with your money in DeFi? How do you feel most comfortable deploying it? And then what are the returns you can get for doing all those things? So for me, it's not just like some black and white answer, oh, XRPL or Flare is better to have your assets on. I think it's going to be different for everybody and what they're trying to accomplish, which is like, why I'm really big on getting away from, this blockchain is going to be better than this blockchain. Like, honestly, I feel like none of us really know. I can sit here and look at a bunch of different blockchains. I can pick holes in them, but I can also see things that are really great about them as well. Same goes for the XRP ledger and Flare network. So for me, it's just going to be as, what's the flavor of the day? How's the market doing? What am I trying to do? Like, am I trying to be less risky right now? Or am I trying to be more risk on? Like, all those things will affect what I do in the long run. And, there may be a point where I want to take a lot out too. So, I think I guess it's almost like if you sell an asset within a community, then you're like a pariah or something like that. But I feel like we should get more into this mindset where we're all just one big crypto community and we have our subgroups where maybe we manage governance and stuff like that. And it kind of just changes in the future and you're able to move from one to another. But that's kind of how I see it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the whole crypto industry is going through a transition right now, from moving away from just staring at exchanges of the price going up in a speculative nature. And I know we're here to make money, but at the same time, to make the generational wealth money, you're going to have to be participating in these networks and to generate different yield streams. So you might want to have, like for me, example, I'm thinking of, you keep some on Flare for FXRP to use in that DeFi ecosystem, but then you're going to want to have some native XRP on there, maybe to participate in the automated market maker. And then there's going to be an abundance of different use cases that come from these side chains out of nowhere. And DeFi is literally in its infancy. It was only the summer of 2020 to really when DeFi exploded. So what are we, in a year and a half time, DeFi has really taken off? That's like nothing. So we have not seen anything yet of what DeFi is capable of. And Daddy Gensler can't do anything about DeFi because anybody could connect to DeFi or blockchains from any kind of self-custodial wallet and do anything. Yes, we might have KYC, AML implemented, but that's an easy fix with decentralized self-sovereign identities. Those things will all easily be fixed. But there's nothing Gensler could do to stop DeFi. They'll stop CeFi, they'll try to crack down on it, but DeFi, the innovation wave, is going to be coming like a tsunami. And typically, when we have innovations, the old guard and the regulations try to slow everything down. But this is one unique innovation where DeFi can't be stopped. We're going to have synthetic assets. We're going to have DAOs coming along. And participating in the governance on Flare is going to be very important. You're going to have a voice. So you're not going to have to sit there and just wait for a tweet. And then if you like what it happens, you're happy about it. Or you complain that they're not doing this. And you could see how everyone's dependent on this Songbird getting distributed from exchanges. Kraken and Bitso just announced they're going to release Songbird. But just remember this feeling of being dependent on centralized entities to do something for you. When you are a Spark governor, means you hold Spark, you're going to be able to dictate what the governance does in that network. Do you want another F asset? Well, you'll decide. The community, us as communities, are going to be evolving. And we're a very strong community. You can see how we've had such a massive impact on this case. And even, Novogratz, who I'm no big fan of, acknowledges, I don't want to use the word on air, but I don't like the guy. And him and Lubin, you see how community is strength in numbers. But now we have to push to the next transition of where this community is going. And it's not going to be just digging up dirt on others, which, hey, that has worked out great. DAI, I got to hand it to him. He's done a phenomenal job. But we have to also accept we're in this transition now where we're going to be participating. We're going to have a voice. And it's not just dependent on the elite or some centralized entity that decides. DeFi, DAOs, and these blockchains are the best way to fight back against the Orwellian centralized approach of these CBDCs trying to control everything. The bigger DeFi gets, the bigger these decentralized blockchains, these decentralized applications get, they become now the foundation for the next generation financial infrastructure. That's really what they are. And the bigger they're getting, and they're growing at a rapid pace. Every blockchain is now going to have its own DeFi ecosystem. You could see Flare is going to have one. XRP Ledger is going to have one. Polkadot is going to have one. Cardano is going to have one. Solana is going to have one. And these are just at their beginning phases. And eventually, I think we'll have, it's not going to be complete utopia decentralization. The front ends will be built by like your PayPals, your Robinhoods, and they'll allow the mainstream users to access these DeFi protocols, but through their centralized front end. But the yield, they're never going to be able to stop, in my opinion. And these side chains, I think this is huge, the XRP ledger, because it opens up XRP to every use case. There's no use case that it doesn't have a capability to do. It could compete with Corda as much as it can compete with open source, Ethereum's DeFi and NFTs on some other network. So it has the capabilities to do everything. And I think that's really what the ultimate vision is, horizontal scaling.
Absolutely. And so I'll take us into the last clip we have with Matt here, Mickey.
XRP Ledger. I'm really excited about what's going to come up in the next 12 months, right? There's some really interesting stuff. And there's on the ODL side, I mean, you saw, when was it, about 2 months ago, we announced about Japan and Philippines. So SBI Remit in Japan and Coins PH in Philippines was the last one we announced to go live. We've got some more announcements coming up soon. So I'm not allowed to say what, but I am allowed to say that there will be some announcements. I'm allowed to announce an announcement, but I'm not allowed to say what the announcement is.
That's fair. That's an exciting announcement.
So but I'm allowed to tease you a little bit and say that there is some ODL related announcements coming up.
Here we go.
So got some ODL related announcements coming up, and you could just tell the excitement in Matt's voice. I think everybody could see how excited David Schwartz was from those clips he played yesterday. This is stuff that I'm sure like the Ripple team back in the early days, like had thoughts around when they were designing Codius, and all the stuff they were doing with Stefan Thomas back then. And, some of their early products that they tried to build on the ledger that were stunted by, regulatory entities. So I think they're really excited to get into this. And, it may turn out that it actually was a blessing that they're a little later to the game than a couple other blockchains, because they can see what works and what doesn't work, and the best way to keep the XRPL clean for payments and lean and fast, but also implement all this other stuff. So I think it's just going to be really cool as this kind of builds out. And as far as like timelines on this, I know a few of y'all are asking. They're still, building this stuff out. I know the Aesthetes NFT project is aiming for a summer launch, and they want to include using fractionalized NFTs, staking components, as well as like borrowing with your NFTs. So, I would imagine summer at the earliest, unless they say something sooner, which would be awesome. But to me, it seems like summer or later in the year in 2022 when we get a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, that's I think on point here. So let's go over, recap the 4 big amendments that are going to have the most impact on the XRP ledger and everything we're talking about. So the first is federated sidechains. That's going to be an amendment. It makes some small changes, nothing massive. Then we have the hooks amendment, which is already through testnet right now and devnet, and is on the brink of being put up as an amendment to be voted on. So that's going to be fairly soon, possibly by the end of the year. Then the third one we have is the NFTs. This is probably the biggest amendment with the most changes coming to the XRP ledger. And the proposal was in May by Nick Bougalis and the rest of the Ripple team to propose this amendment. This was on top of the initial one that Win proposed, which is a very basic one. The one that Nick Bougalis and the Ripple X dev team proposed is a massive overhaul. I mean, it's going to add multiple new objects. It's basically going to allow for the ERC 721 and 1155 version of a better version of that for the XRP ledger, like deep metadata on the back end for content creators and minting NFTs and a marketplace. So these things could be traded on the XRP ledger DEX and different side chains. So we can have a big ecosystem of NFTs and also be able to use Ethereum NFTs, because the side chain that's EVM compatible, we'll be able to hold those NFTs too. So they're creating something much bigger. And then the fourth would be the automated market maker. Now, how long would these things take to be implemented? Probably next few months. I would say 2022 is going to be really the big year for the XRP ledger. Now, none of this is being held back because of the case or anything like that. So even if the case settled tomorrow, all this still has to be implemented. And the whole DeFi and NFT space is just getting going. So XRP is not behind anything. And I know some people think in the short term, oh, XRP is going to miss the bull run, this or that. It's one little bull run, all right? There'll be another bull run next year or the year after that. Like, the market cycles, I think, are less important than the actual development on these blockchains. And I understand people want to take their profits. That's fine. But the development and the long-term utility has not really shown fully yet. But we're getting there. We're at this point where when a flare goes live, it's going to have utility out the gate with the FTSO, with the F asset system, using Spark as collateral, XRP being staked, used as liquidity. That's utility. That is the utility that's coming. And more, this utility is taking place on many networks. And I think just people are missing it. Staking is utility. Look at DOT. It has almost 65% of the assets staked. That's utility. Using DOT as for crowd loans. That's utility. So this utility is creeping up on everybody. And I don't think it's being seen because there's so much over focus on, oh, we're going to hit the bull run's going to end, and then we're going to go into a 3-year bear cycle. That's 2013, 2018 crap. I mean, I think we're just past that, and that's great to look for a trading aspect, but I think overall market, what we're looking for, a long-term sustainability, has to happen on-chain. And the focus has switched from fiat leak exchanges to on-chain activity. And we see with the chain analysis report, there's a massive increase in on-chain activity. All these DEXs, all these different lending products and borrowing, collateralizing of assets. That's happening on chain, completely separate from the exchanges.
Yep, absolutely, Mickey. And, I'm personally really excited about all the NFT stuff. I've definitely caught the bug recently. There is just a lot of really interesting ways to go about, whether it be building a community around the NFT stuff or, using it for really practical purposes, like maybe as tranches for some kind of tokenized bond product. We've seen things where people will break those up into NFTs where you can invest in specific tranches that have different, risk reward ratios. They're going after titling and stuff like that. So your car title, imagine in a future where basically the government just has some database and it's tied to an NFT and all your information is on there. You got the QR code on your phone. Maybe you have a printout for when you're driving and they can just scan that and you don't have to have all these physical items that you have to keep track of. So I think all those things are really cool. And then obviously, like, for me, the movie, gaming, and music industry is so clearly going to be disrupted by this stuff. And I'm really excited to see that. Right now, it's just not ideal for a lot of creators unless you're, a top creator at this point. So I think opening up the world, to more diverse, better content that maybe just isn't all driven by, hype or fear or, just kind of ad algorithms. So I think there's a lot of great things that can come out of all this. And really Ripple, like more than anything, is really buckling down on NFTs. I mean, $250 million fund for that. They have the mintable investment with the likes of Mark Cuban and Ashton Kutcher. So, it seems to me they're going really big on that end. And the fact that they're building out a whole new standard, what is it like? Is it XLS 15 or something like that?
XLS 20.
20. Yeah. There you go. So, they're making some significant changes to facilitate like the best NFTs out there. Metadata is really important. Some NFTs, there's like stuff called NFT rot where, if you may have the rights to a specific NFT, but if it's hosted in one spot that is reliant on somebody to keep hosted at all times, well, that kind of defeats the purpose of it because then you have centralized hosting in that respect. So I think it's going to be really interesting. And I'm really excited. I've definitely, I've gotten that Flare Finance DeLorean NFT. I was lucky enough to win some Twitter contests where you're like doing like puzzles and games to get into one on Ethereum. That was pretty interesting. And there's been a few others as well. I mean, and plus the metaverse stuff that comes out, I'm just really, I really feel like that's going to be big. I just feel like the future is pointing in that direction in the whole play to earn economy, especially as we see, more people get pushed out of the workforce due to AI, autonomy, robotics and things like that. We have to find new ways for people to be able to work and create value for themselves as well. So, while there's some things moving in the future that seem like big problems, I think a lot of this tech could help solve them or create new ways for people to earn. And who knows, maybe it ends up in a better situation. I think, the path we go is a little up in the air at this point, but it'll be interesting to see play out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see play out. Exactly what you said there. So I know there's this sentiment right now that we're at the end of something. Like, oh, the bull run's going to happen, and then that's the end of something.
We're at the end of the old way of thinking.
We're at the end of the old way of thinking. So just because, this bull run happens, that's it. It's over. No, it's not. We're at the very beginning of what is being built here. And you have to understand that mindset. If you think like, we're at the end, this is the last time to ever earn. I mean, yes, take profits if you could take profits and you're in the profit, but don't be thinking, like that's it. We got a 3-year bear market happening. Nothing's going to take place now for 3 years. It's going to be dead. You're going to miss out on a lot of stuff, like a tremendous amount, because we're just getting going. Not just us, but the whole industry is getting going. Like everything from Polkadot launching, Ethereum 2.0 launching, Cardano launching and getting all their things going, Ripple and XRP Ledger just getting all their side chains going. We're just at the beginning of the next phase of all this. It's just happening now. So this is just like a short term. When you look at charts and you look at this, we're at the end of this and then that's it. It's over. That's like the last way that I think of things personally. If you're a trader, fine, that's how you look at it. But I think many people in this ecosystem who are part of this community are more than traders. And if you're going to be a long-term member of this community, you're here for the long term. And that's seeing what's developing. You would understand that we're early, not at the end of just some cycle that is based on 2013, 2015, 2018. This market is nothing like 2018. I don't care if the chart says it, and the chart doesn't even match to 2018 anyway. So I'm just very against that view of thinking like, oh, that's it. It goes, runs up, and now we're done for 2-3 years. Like,
Well, and
that's going to lose a lot of people, going to fall behind with that attitude. Because I'm adamantly against that.
Imagine, so like, let's just say that does happen again. Like, let's say XRP goes somewhere like $10 to $15. We'll say, you know, one of the better cases. Certainly, are there much better cases than that, and lower end cases as well. But with that, I mean, generally we've seen like what 90-95% pullback in the bear market. I mean, that would have us at like $1 if it went to $10. So, you know, if it pulled back that far, like, I don't think I would be too upset about that, because I would still actually very much be in profit. And I think a lot of people at this point that's been in XRP for a while are in profit right now. Also think about it. So, you know, a lot of people, I think what they worry about with the bear market is they're trying to get enough money to change something about their life. And if they're not able to do that and have to wait another 3 years, and maybe they're in a soul crushing job, or the job doesn't value them appropriately, or the work is not worth the pay, but it's just something you have to do. That's where I understand like the fear around that coming in. So, you know, if you're somebody that feels that way, then, you know, taking profits probably makes a lot of sense. Even if it could go higher at some point, at least you could maybe subside some of those feelings. Also, if you're somebody that's going to be around for a while, I mean, if you had it, imagine if we do go through another 3-year bear market, if this past one, let's say all this DeFi stuff was actually available for us. Imagine if the past 3 years you had been just earning constantly every day. Imagine like now that we're at a, you know, $1 to $2 price point, you would probably have way more XRP or some other asset if you had been doing that for the past 3 years. So even if we do have a prolonged bear market, if, you know, you can handle, you know, paying for your daily expenses and working still and utilizing your assets and earning yield, I mean, I think that just sets you up even better, because you're going to be starting from a much lower price appreciation standpoint. And the next time it comes around, you know, it just keeps getting bigger and bigger as we go into the future. So for me, it's like all about, you know, perspective. Now, I tend to think there's too much going on for there to be just a 3-year bear market as far as development in the space and investment from institutions and, you know, VCs and all that stuff. But it doesn't mean that we're not going to crash 75-80% off the highs. You know, I just think it's going to be a lot quicker, and I think the rebound's going to be a lot quicker. You know, we've talked about this in the past, probably a while ago, Mickey, but, you know, the idea of the exponential age. Everything is happening faster and faster as time goes on. And, you know, kind of the history of the world, maybe if you looked at something, you know, 30 years ago that would take a year, like that kind of action happens within a month now. You know, I'm not doing the math exactly right. Not smart enough to do that, but that's kind of the gist of it. And as we get these new technologies, as machine learning becomes more commonplace, we get to a point where AI is actually making some really meaningful improvements to just how we do business on a daily basis in society. I just think these cycles and everything are going to speed up more and more. I mean, I think we've seen it with the crypto market, the stock market in the past couple of years. Like, they've had severe crashes and they've rebounded extremely quickly. I mean, we literally went down like 75% for 2 months this summer, and we're already back at all-time high for Bitcoin within a few short months. I mean, you would think if the market went down 75% that we would be in some terrible bear market, but really it happened so quickly that you couldn't even say we left a bull market if you want to go by the official definition of what that is. So I think these things are just going to keep ramping up more and more into the future. And maybe these cycles will change in length if they're going to stay around, rather than, you know, how far we go up in price and down in price. Those may still stay the same, but I just don't see how, with everything going on, the dollar being printed, fiat being printed around the world, central banks pushing for CBDCs at this point, that this market's just going to go away and die for 3 years. It doesn't seem likely to me. Last time around in 2017-18, there was just not as much like on-chain development and investment going on. But, you know, I could definitely be wrong on that. And like I said, I'm here to earn if it happens for 3 years. If I got to do more work than I was planning on it, then that's just something I got to do. So
yeah, the on-chain development is dramatically different than 2018. We didn't have any of this. A lot of things were just white papers or they were theoretical ideas. Everything was trading based on speculation. There was no big staking. There was no DeFi. There was no yield. There were no CeFi products like there is now. This is a completely different market. So to say, oh, just because the chart added up like that in 2017, 2018, and do the same exact thing now, the fundamentals are so different. And now we have institutional on-ramps in all different directions. You can see there's 130 different crypto custodians, institutional-wise. You know how many there were in 2018? 5. So that just tells you right there, there's a tremendous shift. Now, that's not to say we don't have different pullbacks. Of course, there's going to be pullbacks in the market, but if Bitcoin goes to 75, 80 grand, I don't think that's it. Yep, we're done now. Let's pack it in, Patty. We'll be back in 3 years. Like I feel like there's so much else that's going on, and that's not even a guarantee that ends there. Like this spring, it could have easily looked like, we hit the euphoric high, and now we're boom in a bear market for 3 years. But that didn't happen. We recovered fairly quickly. So I think with that recovery, if we go to 75, 80 grand now, what makes it think we're going to go down to 13 grand? I don't know. That things just bother me because it's a one-sided view, completely ignoring everything else that's going on. And in this market, you have to look at everything. Charts can only tell you so much, and they only show a small picture. Look at the amount of volume that's taken place. Look at the diverse amount of different countries around the world using DeFi, Thailand, Philippines, all this gaming going on. None of that existed in 2018. Nothing. It was all a white paper. It was an idea. And that's what people were trading on. And then they would dump the thing because they're like, the speculative runs over. That's it. I don't need to hold it. But now I could sit there and hold DOT and earn 18 to 20% staking. So why am I going to sell when I could continually compound that through the so-called bear market? I mean, you could have called this summer a bear market. It was kind of in bear market trenches. And then what did it do? Pull right out. It dropped pretty hard, but we're back where we are. So
yeah, and I mean, think about it this way. Is there, blockchain gaming's like growing big right now. I mean, I know probably a lot of people are familiar with Gala Games, and they just, they unleashed their alpha testing for their play to earn on Townstar, which is just like a little strategy game. I played around a little bit last night when I was watching some baseball and earned a little town coin from their alpha test, which is like their asset that's going to be play to earn that people can utilize within that game. So my whole thing is there's different sectors in blockchain emerging. Like you can think about computational power. Certainly if the market falls off and transactions go down by a ton, computational power would be affected by that. But think about like when there's a recession and people lose jobs. I mean, what do they have to do? Well, if you can start earning money by playing a game, via blockchain, then to me, that just seems like a massive thing that can kind of counteract any kind of bearish sentiment, at least in that sector of crypto. So I think we're going to start seeing, like you see with the the traditional financial markets, stocks have different sectors, different types of commodities, all that kind of stuff. I think we're going to start seeing that grow in the cryptocurrency space as well. And I'm really excited to see how gaming performs. Is it something that goes last after, we have Bitcoin, alts, then maybe we get gaming and NFTs. If there is some kind of long-term bearish sentiment, how much are the games crushed? There's a lot of things going on, and, I think it makes it really hard to decide what's going on. Ultimately, it's probably going to be a little of a lot of people's different opinions that converges. And certainly, if the stock market were to crash and, maybe it did a 40 or 50%, whatever pullback, if you want to call it that, I'd probably be called a crash anyways. I think the COVID crash was like 30%, something like that. That's going to take crypto with it. That's just kind of the nature of the beast right now. But, if we only hang down low for a while and it's these V-shaped recoveries that happen just because more, fiat's being pumped out there and risk on environment, I think it'll be very interesting. And I just think things are speeding up for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if we have a euphoric blow off top, like to the point where Bitcoin went to a couple $100,000s and some of these assets went ridiculously high, and they're basically way overvalued. That's when we have that crash, but it comes back down to more where it is now than if, oh, we just bump up a little more and then we're in the bear market. Like, that's what I don't see happening. I think it would have to be a euphoric explosion where the market gets so overvalued that it just, then the bottom falls out because it's overvalued. I do not think the market is overvalued at this stage, or even if Bitcoin gets to 75. It's not overvalued where it has to come back down then to 20, 13,000 and then stay there. It's valued fairly good right now. But back in 2018, when it hit 20 grand, it was probably overvalued at that time. So how do you value the market and value these projects? Are they valued at the right, levels? And I would say, like, right now, things, this is my opinion, it's not financial advice, they're valued pretty good. But if Bitcoin goes to 250,000, it's probably pretty overvalued at that point, and then it's going to correct back down. But we've already seen it drop back down, come back up. Now it's sitting at support. So I don't know why 75,000 we hit and it's over. That's what I don't see happening. But that's me personally. Some people in the community adamantly believe that, but they were wrong about their altcoin being a single season, and now it's turned into a double season. So go figure.
Yeah, I mean, like anything, everybody's just guessing, but you gotta take the whole picture into account, and there's just so much to take into account that I think it's tough for any one person to be right, especially when you're contributing factors outside of the cryptocurrency ecosystem. That just adds the complexity to it. But Nikki, for this last part of the stream, I do want to, just because I've seen quite a few questions about Flare and stuff in particular, I just want to address right now. Well, actually, first one's an announcement. Panther Protocol is going to have their public sale on November 23rd. You can go to their website. I believe it's pantherprotocol.io, and you're able to sign up for that. I don't think people in the US are going to be able to participate, so unfortunately I'll be left out. But if any of you guys around the world, not in the US, not under Daddy Gensler's jurisdiction right now, you guys are more than welcome to check that out. I don't know what's going to be a good price. I don't think they've announced the public sale price. So, take all that stuff into account when you do it. Definitely make sure we have, I don't know, about 5 videos at this point on our channel explaining Panther Protocol. It's going to be on Flare Network in the future. I also imagine that they'll launch as a layer 2 above XRPL in the future for when the side chains come. They're basically looking to get on every chain, and they're doing regulatory compliant privacy. So you can imagine that you can do all this stuff on the blockchain. People aren't going to know it's you. They're not going to be able to track you from, public account to public account address. But if you need to interact with some kind of regulated entity, you can certainly disclose whatever information you want to disclose about yourself. So I saw somebody's called ZK Snarks in the chat today. That's what they're utilizing with Panther Protocol. And they have a really great team. Their CTO actually was an advisor to Ripple for 5 years, from 2013 to 2018. He's been in cryptography for a long time. Additionally, he's one of the people that reviewed the Ethereum Orange paper. And then also their CEO, Oliver Gale, he had his company that he owned helped build the first ever CBDC in Barbados, which is called Dcash. So they have kind of plans to integrate privacy with CBDCs if they get issued on public ledgers in the future and all that stuff. So I think it's a very interesting project. Whether you invest in it or not, I think it's something that all of us may want to use at some point in the future if, you want to have some privacy enabled on the blockchain. Also, it's going to be huge for protecting alpha for hedge funds, financial institutions that don't want to have people learn their trading strategies by following like an account with a lot of money and seeing what they're doing as their strategy. So certainly you could deconstruct it, kind of if you take a car apart and you figure out how to, I forget that term is, where you kind of rebuild something based on taking it apart. But basically, people could do that trying to find out alpha, which is just abnormal returns above the market. So if S&P is at 8%, anything you give above that, that's considered your alpha. It's a really big deal for institutions that make their money by finding ways to make money better than other people. So that's something they really care about. And I'm excited about that project in a big way.
I think privacy is really important to show how, it doesn't mean that compliance means you sacrifice privacy. And this is a perfect example of that. The world we're moving into, it makes it seem like, oh, everything's going to be controlled and they're going to know everything you do. But we see that there's technologies out there like zero knowledge proofs, like Panther's using, that you could get both. You could get that compliance with that privacy. And that's really, you know, like the holy grail of everything, is having privacy and compliance. And, you know, I think that's the world that we need to fight back against, using technologies like that instead of like the Orwellian thing, thinking we're going to control everything and have full supervision over it. But really, they just need compliance for the KYC AML, and Panther's able to achieve that. So I really like what their project's doing.
Yep, absolutely. And then the next thing was people are asking questions about Flare. No, we don't know an exact date for when it's going to launch. Right now, they are in the process of getting the F asset system tested, as well as the state connector system, which are going to be very integral parts of Flare network. And certainly them testing the F asset system as well as the state connector system on Songbird first is going to help with my confidence level in minting F assets on Flare, maybe on an earlier timeline. So for me, that's something I'm really curious about, to see what comes of that and how fast it goes. If there's any kind of bugs that pop up, they got to fix. So, you know, one of the nice things, if you're asking, oh, do I really want to, you know, risk, in quotes, my XRP to mint it as FXRP, you know, pay attention to whatever Flare puts out about how the state connector system and F asset system go. And hopefully, you know, that can help you ultimately make your decision if you want to do that. If you don't, and you got the Spark airdrop, you know, you're going to be able to delegate. It looks like the FTSO is working pretty great so far. I haven't really noticed any bugs on the blockchain level. Certainly, like pulling data out and UI stuff is going to be a work in progress, but so far it looks pretty good.
Just throw in there's been over 1.1 million transactions have moved over the Songbird network since it's launched about a month ago. So it looks like the network is running pretty smoothly. FTSO system has been running smoothly. You know, each signal provider might have had certain issues upon their own, but the overall system has been running extremely smooth. So that's a good sign. And like David Schwartz said at Apex, he really respects the decision that Flare made to launch Songbird first before launching the Flare network, because the more successful that Songbird is and it proves out that it's sustainable, the more successful Flare will be when it's launched, and it'll be that much bigger. So the little more months you had to wait to get your free tokens, I think is going to be more beneficial for the Flare network, which is the ultimate. They're not trying to launch in coordination with a bull run. They don't care about that stuff. They're launching a technology here that's going to be infrastructure for a future financial system, and that is a lot more the focus than, are we going to catch the bull run when we distribute these tokens? Flare team said, we don't care about that stuff. We're here building infrastructure for the next decade plus. And that's what the goal here is, not to just catch a bull run so that people's tokens are worth more money. Of course, we want our tokens to be worth more money, don't get me wrong. And I just want to touch on here, Patty, before we go on to Bifrost, that if we do have a run up, I do encourage everyone take profits. Definitely don't not take profits because, you know, you're worried about, you know, there's going to be future value out there. Just if you feel like it could change your life, take some profits. But just remember that it's not likely, in my opinion, that we're going to have this extended bear market again. But if you could take profits to change your life, go ahead and do that. You know, nobody should stop you from doing that. But don't do it with the mindset that, we're done for another 3 years and I'll come back then.
Absolutely, Mickey. I mean, I'm planning on being here for as long as blockchain is going to be a thing, which could be my whole life. But certainly, I'm going to 100% take profits this time around. I also have a lot more crypto than I did when the bull run happened when I was in college. So I think that's part of the reason I didn't do anything back then.
Everyone's situation's different too. So we also have to keep that in mind. Everyone's at a different age. We have different situations, family situations, different obligations in life, and we live in different parts of the world. So what works for one person might not work for the other. They might need to pull more profits than the other person. But at the same time, know what you're invested in, that you're at just the beginning of what is being built. We're not at the end of what is being built. We're at the very beginning. DeFi is just getting going. We haven't even synthetics really launched in large capabilities yet, and tokenization of assets. That's all coming in the next wave of DeFi. And it's going to be massive when you could get exposure to Tesla stock, to Apple stock, to all these different capital market products that Daddy Gensler can't do anything about. So the people in China who have capital controls and can't buy Apple stock, they'll be able to get exposure to Apple stock from synthetic assets. And that's all coming in the future because they're going to use crypto as the collateral for those synthetics. Once again, another use case for crypto. And governance, I think, is going to be the other component that's going to be massive moving forward. And that's going to put a premium on assets. When you have these governance rights, we're going to transition a little from corporations to DAOs. And that's going to be a slow process over the next decade or two. But we're going to see this transition happening. And this is why I say CBDCs are years away.
Yeah, I mean, as far as CBDCs, it seems like to me they have a huge issue in getting public trust, which I think is going to be the number one barrier to them implementing this. I imagine certainly a lot of people in here probably have some worries about how that will be implemented. Also, how are you going to incentivize people to use a CBDC over, stable coins or fiat when I don't imagine how they're going to provide yield on CBDCs if they can't do it with their current system. So I definitely think they have a lot of growing pains in terms of that. But China's going to be a huge marker for me as far as, if those are going to be successful or not. Because I feel like if they can't make it successful, it's going to be much harder to do in I'll say freer society in quotes. I think all of that can be debated on how free we are in most of the world. Obviously, China has some like communist components to it. So, I mean, I feel like I can say that safely. But other than that, I want to go into Bifrost real quick. So for Bifrost, they have a new update. Just so you know, it's not going to automatically update, which I think is a good thing from your phone. And that's because maybe you lose access to your funds because you have some older phone version and then it updates to one that you can't use. So I like that you are able to choose when you want to update. They generally going to put the updates out on Twitter. They sent one out yesterday. And what I had to do for an iPhone, I imagine it's pretty similar to an Android. I went to the App Store, typed in Bifrost Wallet. When they show you the listing of all your options, it still says open. So I had to click into the page that has the actual description for the Bifrost Wallet and everything like that. And then I clicked update from in there. And now you can see your rewards accruing throughout the epoch. During the week, and it also has, the time like they've had in the past when those will be claimable. So that's really nice that, I can just pop it open, go to my WSGB account, hit delegate, and it's like, oh, okay, I've gotten, 50 Songbird today or something like that. So it's pretty nice to have that built in. They're going to keep building stuff out. Just realize they didn't have a very big team to start off with. And I think the amount of people that got the Bifrost wallet really overwhelmed them from what I could, just because I had messaged with them in DMs a little bit, and they just said they're scaling everything out. So I'd say just have a little patience with them on that. If you ever get to a point where you have the loading bar is just kind of spinning when you do a transaction, you can always go to the Songbird Explorer, put in your address, see if it actually happened. It may just be because they need to get more nodes set up to facilitate all that data going out through their wallet. Also, another thing you can pull down where the transaction listing is, that'll reload it, and maybe it'll make it go away and show the transaction is confirmed. Or certainly, just close the wallet app and come back in and see if it went through. So those are some troubleshooting tips I found that are but so far I'm really enjoying that wallet. I've used it for a lot of different stuff now. I mean, I was doing some stuff on Ethereum with USDC and all that. That was really easy. I was doing some stuff with Gala the other day. So I found it pretty easy to do all those things. You can't see NFTs in the Bifrost wallet at this point. So that's something that will come in the future, but that's part of the roadmap.
Yeah, so Bifrost they're almost at 50,000 users in this short period of time. So they're fastest growing wallet, in the history of wallets. So they've definitely been overwhelmed, but it's a testament to show how big this community is, turning from XRP community to the Flare community. And this is just the Canary network. So you could imagine when Flare goes live, we'll have over 100,000. So Bifrost and Decent are the two main wallets now that let you delegate directly from inside the wallet themselves. You open the mobile wallet, you have biometric security on there, and you're able to delegate right from in there. So it's super user-friendly. It's pretty self-explanatory how to do it. You could change every Wednesday night is when you change your delegations, and then you receive those rewards 10 days later on Saturdays is when you claim your rewards. That's the schedule and routine you should kind of get in. If you want to change your signal providers, change them on Wednesday night, and then receive your rewards on Saturday. And that just will repeat every week, week after week. So we're getting weekly compounding rewards. And also keep in mind on Flare, the inflation rewards are 6 times higher. So there might be more participation on Flare, but the actual amount of rewards that's distributed from the inflation mechanism is 6 times higher. So just keep in mind, you're going to earn even higher rewards from the Flare network. And if you're interested in learning more about the rewards, in our Patreon group, Patty has created an in-depth spreadsheet that goes through the details of the F asset system rewards and the FTSO rewards. So if you're interested in learning more about that and building strategies going into the Flare network, because the F asset system is going to be a daily compounding of Spark that will feed in to your FTSO rewards on the Flare network. And I expect the rewards to be considerably higher and generate even more value on the Flare network. So if you're interested in joining the Patreon, the link is in the group in the description below. And some of the higher tiers, we have Zoom calls we do twice a week, every Wednesday and Sunday. They're around an hour and a half to 2 hours long.
Yeah.
So I think, go ahead.
Yeah.
Brian.
I just want to do one last thing, because I know AFTSO right now, let's just say right now, if we locked in the vote power, they would be oversubscribed. So I just kind of want to describe to people how they can tell if it's worthwhile to go with an oversubscribed signal provider versus another. So basically, we know we have this voting cap. So we'll call that VC is 10%. Now imagine we'll call voting power VP. Imagine AFTSO at some point, since that guy has just done an outstanding job. I believe it's Alex Dupree, has just really done a really good job getting his signals to be in the median 50% every time. So let's say theoretically he's at a point where the voting power locks in at 15%. So what you want to do is you want to take the percentage difference between these two to see how much the rewards are going to get diluted. So just the way to do that is basically you'll take 15% and then subtract 10% from that, and then you do it over 10%. This equates out to 33%. So that means the rewards would be diluted by 33%. So let's say his reward rate is 3.00. And if you basically multiply that times 1 minus 33%, then that would give you a reward rate of actually 2 per if you spread it out evenly, because with the voting cap, this means that he can only use up to 10% of the total wrapped and delegated Songbird supply, but there's 15% of them with his FTSO. So that means that he has to spread just 10% of the earnings across 15% of the people, essentially. So if you had any signal providers that are under 10% voting power, maybe one of them has a 2.5 reward rate, which is actually, relatively lower than 3. But due to the fact that they're not oversubscribed, they may actually pay you out more. And just so people know, I believe the reward rate on Flare metrics is going to, what's it called? The reward rate on there will update and reflect reward dilution. So that's one thing I'll be seeing if AFTSO gets oversubscribed this week going into next Saturday for the new epoch. I'll be curious to see if they keep the top spot. And we'll see how much the dilution is affecting them. Right now, I think he's at 11% or something last time I checked. So, the difference between 15 and 10% and 11 and 10% is a big difference in itself. So it may not be enough to make him relinquish the top spot in his signal provider. So hopefully that gives you guys an understanding of how you can look into that and compare in the future. So yeah, I think that should wrap it up, Mickey. Any last things?
No, I think you covered everything. And exciting times ahead. I'm just saying we are on the brink of a potential, Bitcoin hitting all-time high right now.
I mean, we may test it tonight.
We're testing it. So we're at that point where things are getting exciting, but we're getting right back to the all-time high we just hit this didn't happen in 2018. There was no getting back to the all-time high, you know, 5-6 months later. It was just down we go for 3 years. So this is a totally different cycle already. You could see it. So, you know, any chart analyst could paint it any way they want, but this is a totally different cycle, in my opinion. And it's a totally different environment that we're in. So we have to keep that in mind. And, you know, next live stream we'll talk more about the specifics around the SEC case and specifically XRP, because this is a unique situation we're in with XRP and having to decide, you know, is XRP going to catch this run? I call it a bull run, you know, instead of bull market. It's a bull run that potentially could happen. You know, we'll see. Let's hope the judge denies the extension here and it only goes to December 10th.
No worries. I'll make that a Mickey solo live stream.
Yeah, we'll do that one.
I just hate talking about the SEC.
I know. Well,
one day we'll be done with it though. So
yeah, soon this will be all over and we'll be moving forward. But hey, I gotta thank the whole XRP community, everyone who's contributed to the John Deaton, you know, on that case. Sign up. I've signed up myself. You know, if you owned XRP during that time, there's nothing the SEC could do to come backlash against you, because I know there's some people in the community fearful they're going to come at you with black helicopters and everything. You know, that's not going to happen.
I mean, they probably don't care about most of the people.
They don't care about most of us, but we're making an impression in debt. Like being in the New York Post with, what's his name? Gasparino, and having even Brad Garlinghouse saying, hey, there's 45,000 members. We're a very strong community. You know, we might be a very diverse community with different opinions, but you know what? We all stand for the same thing. And we still hold XRP, even if we have different views. And I think that's important going forward. And even Novogratz admitted that. So I think we need to stick together and, you know, showing support for what we hold and what we know is the right thing. And the SEC is doing the wrong thing. So the more we could get that word out there, I think the better. So I'm proud of being part of this community and thank everybody, you know, for supporting us and the whole community in general.
Absolutely. You. Yeah. I mean, I'll throw a joke in to end it, but I feel like Brad Garlinghouse, after his IPO goes off for Ripple, maybe could buy us all steak dinners, you know, like 45,000 people. I think that would be possible. It probably wouldn't put too big of a dent. Anyways, thanks for joining us today, everybody. Yeah, have a great rest of the day. This is the DeFi Standard. I'm Patty XRP.
And I'm Mickey B. Fresh.
And we're out.